Welcome to the Don't Call It Small Business Podcast, powered by Foreman & Associates, LLC, a consulting and professional development services firm. I'm your host, Natasha Foreman. Our podcast provides professionals and organizational leaders with helpful advice, tips, and business news that you can use for training, development, strategic realignment, and more. We examine the tough questions and issues impacting our businesses, households, and communities. If you like what you hear and find the content useful, please share us with your inner circle. Now that we've covered that and you've learned a little about us and why we do what we do, let's get to work. Join us for today's episode. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 94, part 7. Oh my goodness. It's your girl, Natasha Foreman. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Okay, so last week, we covered, and if you're saying, wait a minute, part 7, as I keep saying, I never know who's going to jump on with us. So this is part 7 of a multi-part series. If you're just now joining us, you need to just moonwalk all the way back to episode 88, which is part 1. Don't worry, you won't be left behind. But I definitely want you to have the information and charge ahead fully prepared. For the rest of you that have been taking this journey from part 1 until now, if you are on your P's and Q's, then you know that we covered a lot on the sales side last week. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to marketing. So put your marketing hats on. This is what I promised you. All right, so remember that marketing strategy was the second element of the sales and marketing sections of your business plan, right? All right, so let's get into it. What makes up your marketing strategy? And I hope you're taking notes. As we have our market research, competitive analysis, your unique selling proposition. We're going to look at the marketing mix and your marketing budget and then the timeline for your marketing plan. So let's go right into giving you some highlights. So with your marketing research, this is where you're going to detail the research that you've conducted on your target market, industry trends, and customer behaviors. And you're going to discuss the market size and growth potential. By now, through these episodes, you've really started getting a feel for it. I've helped to, work that in, knead it in, massage it in. So hopefully you have been able to do a lot of that, those first steps so that you feel confident in going deep into the market research. We also have the competitive analysis, and that's where you're going to identify your main competitors, and you're going to look at their strengths and their weaknesses, as well as your competitive advantages. So it's like doing a SWOT on them, right? But you're going to be looking for the ways in which you can leverage for your gain. You'll leverage whatever weaknesses they have based off any strengths that you have, but you'll also look at their strengths and see if whether or not they are intense enough to keep you from moving in on their territory, or just at least getting greater market share or not. So those are some of the things that you'll have to be able to do. You need to really know where they are strong and, where they aren't. And that could be in your opinion. They may not necessarily see it that way. Then we have our unique selling proposition, USP. And this is where you're going to explain what sets your company's products or services apart from your competition. What unique value do you offer to your customers? Remember, we talked about the value that your customers perceive your products and services as providing, but you need to also be able to identify what you see as the value, besides the fact that it's yours. And then when we go into the 4 Ps of the marketing mix, All of my college students should be able to recite this, well, at least my marketing students, but I do mention it to my management students as well. We have our 4 Ps: product, price, place, and promotion. Your product is, of course, what you're offering, including the services, the features and the benefits and any planned improvements or product developments. Your price is where you're going to reiterate your pricing strategy. And if applicable, you're going to discuss any discounts, pricing variations, or promotions. So we've already talked about pricing strategy. So by now, you should be feeling a little more confident. And place is where you're going to explain your distribution strategy. And this is how you'll reach your customers and the physical or online locations where your products will be available. When we talk about promotion, this is going to be your various promotional tactics that you need to be able to discuss and outline, which would also include any public relations, advertising, social media, content marketing, and any other methods that can create brand awareness and drive sales. Then we have our marketing budget, and this is where you're going to specify the budget allocated for marketing activities and campaigns. So this is not your overarching operations. This is a line item that is going to be designated, but also specifically separate to so that you can be able to see how much you need to spend for various activities and campaigns. All right. Then we have our marketing plan timeline, and this is where you will outline all or as much of your key marketing milestones and campaigns that you intend to pursue so that you have a visual as to where you are trying to go. Now, let me back up for a moment, and I want to provide some examples of a unique selling proposition and explain what a distribution strategy is, because I'm sure that someone has that as a question. So a USP is a distinctive factor that sets a product or service apart from its competitors in the eyes of the consumers, right? So it answers the question of, well, why should I buy from you? So let me share some examples of some unique selling propositions. One is price match guarantee. This is where a company may promise to match or beat a competitor's prices, assuring customers that they will get the best deal. We see this at a lot of retailers. 2, free shipping. That's where you, of course, especially if you have an e-commerce business, this may be a great strategy to pursue as it saves customers money on shipping costs. The number 3 would be a 30-day money-back guarantee. This is a risk-free trial period, and this can instill confidence in your customers. 4 would be a lifetime warranty. You're promising this warranty on a product that showcases your confidence in the quality and durability of what you have made. 5 is eco-friendly, and let me pause for a second. You do know, and there's also those limited liability warranties, so they understand that the life of that product may be, a half or 3/4 of the way, so they may cap it. So those are your 2, your limited liability and then your lifetime warranty. 5 would be eco-friendly products. So this is where you're focused on sustainability, and you can then be able to appeal to environmentally conscious customers. 6 would be customization. This is where you're going to offer highly customizable services or products to cater to individual needs or preferences of your clients or customers. 7, 24/7 customer support. This is where you're saying, hey, round the clock, we've got you 365 days a year, 364 on a leap year. And with this, it can be a valuable USP for companies that are serving global markets. 8 would be fastest delivery. You're claiming the shortest delivery times in the industry for specific products. 9, exclusive access. Here's where you're saying, I can provide access to products, content, or events to a specific group of customers. So then they feel like they are the VIP. 10 would be your locally sourced ingredients. So if you have food and beverage business, If you use locally sourced, organic, or high quality ingredients, those can all be powerful selling points. I know they are for me. I like buying local, unless I know I'm buying something that's like it's is in from another country. Like they just don't grow here in the United States. But if they do, I like to have local. Number 11, when family owned and operated. This is always a something that can hit the heartstrings, especially if you want to appeal to customers who prefer supporting local businesses. So if you're both local and family owned and operated, that could be a bonus. 12 would be a one-for-one donation. This is where you promise to donate a product or service to a person in need for each one purchased. So, like for instance, you have Tom's Shoes, you have some other companies. 13, celebrity endorsements. This is what really associated with a well-known celebrity who endorses the product or the service. That can be compelling. 14, it's made in whatever country. That can highlight a product that for a specific country that's known for quality and craftsmanship. So, made in Italy, made in Germany, whatever. Made in the USA. 15, no questions asked returns. That's an amazing USP. If you can offer a hassle-free return policy where it doesn't matter the reason, they can return it with no problem, that could be a great bonus. 16, specialized expertise. This is where you're going to position your business as an expert in a particular niche and you're demonstrating in-depth knowledge and experience. But please make sure you're coming with it. 17, unique design or technology. Now, a USP based on proprietary design or technology that offers superior performance or features, that could be the clincher right there where someone's like, yeah, sign me up. 18, small batch production. This is where you're promoting the idea that products are made in limited quantities, which is emphasizing exclusivity and craftsmanship. Also known as a scarcity tactic as well, because if people think there's only 10 left, they try to rush to get it. 19, 100% satisfaction guarantee. You're pledging to your customers that they will be fully satisfied or they'll receive a replacement or a full refund. I mean, how appealing is that? And then 20, we have money-saving bundles, and that's where your company offers bundled products or services at a lower price than buying each individually. And I've talked about that in a previous episode in this series as well. So a USP should resonate with your target audience and address their specific needs or desires. It's a valuable tool for differentiating your business and making your products or services more appealing to potential customers. So just consider that. I hope those examples were helpful. Now let's look at distribution strategy. If you recall, I just mentioned that. It was under the category or element, however you want to look at it, of place, which makes up one of the 4 Ps in the marketing mix. I want to zoom in on this strategy. So zoom in with me. A distribution strategy, you could have also heard of it being called a distribution plan or a distribution channel strategy. This is a crucial component of your overall marketing and business plan. And the reason why is because it outlines how a company will deliver its products or services to its target customers and end users. So when you have a well-designed distribution strategy, it helps ensure that the right products reach the right customers efficiently and cost effectively. And so I want to share with you some key aspects of a distribution strategy so you're clear on this. I don't want you having to search high and low, what does she mean? I don't know. So let me break this down. So the one one aspect would be channel selection. And this is a process of choosing the most appropriate distribution channels to reach the target market. And these channels can include direct sales, wholesalers, retailers, agents, distributors, e-commerce platforms, and it could be a combination of any of those. Number 2 would be market coverage. And this is when you're going to decide on the extent of the market coverage, and this can be intensive. So that means you could have wide distribution, but it could also be selective, where you're having limited distribution to specific outlets. Or you can take that exclusive approach, where you're saying we're going to have exclusive distribution to a single distributor or retailer. So that means that no one else can distribute the product except for this particular retailer or distributor. So those are some of the ways in which you can create and designate that coverage. Number 3 is logistics and transportation. You're going to determine how products will be physically transported from the manufacturer or production facility to distribution points and end users. So you'd consider factors like shipping methods and storage facilities and transportation costs. There's so much that goes into it. I love thinking about all of those elements that make up logistics and transportation. I have students, some of my college students that are majoring in supply chain management, and we look into logistics. I just love when those little light bulbs come on and we just start talking away. All right, let's see. Number 4 would be inventory management. So with this, you're going to plan how inventory will be managed at various distribution points to ensure products are available when and where they're needed without overstocking or understocking, right? You don't want to have too much stock on hand and it's just sitting there. At the same time, you don't want the shelves to be bare. So you don't want to understock. So inventory management is key. 5 would be customer service and support. And this is where you're going to specify how your customer support and after-sales service will be provided to customers through the distribution network. So this will include handling returns and warranties and addressing any inquiries or issues that customers have. So that's key. 6 is channel relationships. And this is where you'd establish relationships with intermediaries in the distribution channel, such as retailers and distributors. And you clearly have to define the roles and responsibilities and the terms of cooperation to maintain smooth operations throughout. 7 would be e-commerce and online distribution. With this, you would determine the role of e-commerce and online sales channels in your distribution strategy, and that would include the design and management of an online store, digital marketing, and order fulfillment. 8, promotion and marketing within the channel. Within, without, around. With this, you're going to describe how marketing and promotional activities will be coordinated. That reminds me of Friday, the Father and Friday, coordinated within the distribution channel. And this may include co-op advertising, joint promotions, and incentives for distributors or retailers. So those 3 can definitely be beneficial in that. Now, number 9 would be geographic considerations. And if you operate in multiple geographic regions or countries. Now, right now, as a startup or a future startup, you're not operating in multiple geographic regions or countries. But if that is your goal, or you find yourself there eventually, this is a very important key. So make sure you highlight this to come back to. But this is where you would decide how you will adapt your distribution strategy to address local market nuances and distribution channel challenges. So when you're looking at the different regions, even within your own country, things do change. What happens in one region and how things operate is totally different. It's a different landscape. So you have to make sure you're looking at those geographic considerations. Number 10, cost and margins. Now with this, you're going to analyze the costs that are associated with the chosen distribution channels and then consider how pricing and margins will be affected. You have to ensure that distribution costs are balanced with the overall profitability of the business. So this is really important here. 11, Market research. Once again, I'm just going to keep layering this. I think that by now you should know how important this is. But this is where you're continuously monitoring market trends, customer behavior, and feedback from distribution partners to adapt and improve your distribution strategy over time. So yes, market research is definitely important to your distribution strategy. It's amazing how these different things weave together and how they're applicable in multiple areas of your business. 12, competitive analysis. Once again, another one that comes right back, that has to be applied, has to be utilized in an efficient way and effectively. The competitive analysis is going to help you analyze the distribution strategies of your competitors to identify opportunities to gain a competitive advantage or improve efficiency. So, I want to make sure that I stress that a well-crafted distribution strategy will align with your company's overall business goals, your customers' expectations, and market conditions. It can have a significant impact on a company's success by ensuring that products or services are efficiently delivered to the right customers, helping to achieve what? Sales targets and what? Customer satisfaction. You got to hit those sales and you got to keep your customers satisfied. So I hope this explanation helps. Now, I want to focus your attention on the fourth P in the marketing mix. Remember, we talked promotion. I told you I wanted to talk to you about that. Some people don't understand what promotional tactics are and might immediately think of gimmicks, right? Because that phrase has been used. Oh, that's a promotional tactic. That's a tactic, and tactic sometimes as a sales tactic, and people see that as a negative, but that's not what it means. So promotional tactics is not what it means. It's not about gimmicks. They are specific marketing activities and techniques that your business can use to create awareness and generate interest and drive sales of your products or services. And these tactics are often part of a larger marketing strategy that's aimed at achieving your objectives. So I want to just kind of share some of the common ones with you so you get an understanding. And once again, you don't think that I'm just lying to you. So with advertising, we have print, digital, and broadcast advertising. So with print advertising, this includes your newspaper ads and ads in magazines and brochures and other printed materials. With your digital advertising, this could be online ads that are displayed on your websites or social media platforms, search engines, and other places. Broadcast advertising, this is going to cover television and radio commercials. Number 2. So number 1 was advertising. Number 2 is content marketing. And this is where we're going to create and distribute valuable, informative, or entertaining, content, but you can have entertaining content that's still valuable and informative, right? But you're doing so to attract and engage a target audience. And this can include your blog posts and videos, infographics, and podcasts. Podcast. Number 3, social media marketing. This is where you're going to leverage your social media platforms to build a brand's presence, engage with customers, and promote products or services through your posts and stories and paid advertising. Number 4, email marketing. You're going to be sending targeted emails to a list of subscribers to inform them about promotions, new products, or company news. Now, pay attention. I said your subscribers. So you are not just blindly sending out these emails to people that have not requested an email from you. Don't spam people, okay? Number 5, influencer marketing. Here you'll be collaborating with influencers or industry experts to promote your products or services to their followers and fan base. Number 6, SEO, which stands for search engine optimization. This is where you're optimizing your website and online content to rank higher in search engine results, which can help increase organic, which is unpaid traffic. Your organic traffic is traffic you don't pay for. So you want to be able to optimize that so you get some folks that just run across you and say, ooh, let me find out more. 7, we have our PPC advertising, which is pay per click. And that's where you place ads on search engines or social media platforms, and where you pay only when someone clicks on your ad. That could be expensive. I will say that, because if someone just clicks but they're not actually buying, they just clicked on it, you're paying for those clicks. I'm just saying, so just be mindful of that. You have to learn more about that. 8, public relations, also, just shortened to PR. This is where you're going to be managing the image and reputation of the company through media relations and press releases, events, and other activities. Sometimes, of course, to start, you're doing it yourself, but as your company grows and you can't keep wearing that hat, you can then be able to outsource that, or you hire someone to handle that for you. Now, 9 is sales promotions. This is where you have some short-term incentives or discounts that are designed to boost sales quickly. Now, I'm going to provide some examples. That could be coupons, flash sales. That could also be your loyalty programs. Remember, we talked about loyalty programs briefly 2 weeks ago. 10, I think I did. In my mind, I did. 10, trade shows and events. This is where you participate in industry-related trade shows and hosting events to showcase products or services to a targeted audience. 11, direct marketing. You're sending promotional materials directly to potential customers, such as direct mail, telemarketing, and email marketing. Now, you see the difference between the direct marketing, right? There's a difference between that and direct marketing and when you are doing your email marketing, where you're sending targeted emails to a list of your subscribers. So with the email marketing, folks know you're coming. With the direct marketing, they may not. And most likely they don't. Just it comes into their mailbox, or it ends up in their email inbox. So there's the 2 different approaches, and I want to make sure I'm very clear on that, so that when you hear the terminology, you use the terminology, you know the applicability of those, okay? Number 12 is guerrilla marketing. No, folks, we're not going to the zoo. That means unconventional, creative, low-cost marketing tactics that will rely oftentimes on surprise or shock value to capture the attention of your audience, to wrap them in and hold on to them tight until they want to buy whatever you're selling. Okay, it may not be that intense, but it can. 13, sponsorship. So this is where you can partner with events and organizations or influencers to promote your brand and products through various endorsements and sponsorships. 14, contests and giveaways. You can run sweepstakes, contests, giveaways to engage customers and encourage them to take specific actions. That could be, sharing your content or making a purchase. 15, referral programs. This is where you're going to encourage existing customers to refer their family, their friends, their neighbors to your business by offering them various incentives or rewards. 16, cross promotions. Here's where you collaborate with complementary businesses to mutually promote each other's products or services. So, anything that enhances your product or service, and that your product or service can enhance someone else's, that's a complementary, collaborative thing. Like, you're definitely not trying to promote a competitor, a direct competitor. Like, why would you do that? If you have a cell phone case, why would you be promoting someone else's cell phone case? You wouldn't. But maybe you have a relationship with a cell phone company and they're willing to. I mean, you got to be some top-notch for that, but that's just the gist of it. So we're looking for those that can complement what you have to actually help generate greater sales. 17, cause marketing. That's where you're going to align your brand with a social or environmental cause and promote your support for that cause as part of your marketing efforts. Now, let me be clear with this. I'm a stickler about people just doing things for PR sake. Like, you just want to be able to, reel people in because you're pulling at their heartstrings, or you find out what they are most passionate about, what makes them weak at the knees. if that's not truly you, if that's not part of your value statement, the core of you and your company, if you really don't care about, the animals that are being poached, don't make that part of your social or environmental cause. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just find another tactic. At that really is like gimmicky at that point. Don't do that. It's just unethical and distasteful. 18, product demonstrate. And I know I said it, and there's going to be someone that just does it because they don't like to be told what not to do. All right, 18, product demonstrations. This is where you allow customers to try or experience the product firsthand. And this is often in store or through virtual demonstrations. So I gave you 18 examples. The choice of your promotional tactics depends on various factors, right? You have to look at your target audience, your budget. Let me underline your budget. And the specific goals of your marketing campaign. So effective promotional tactics should be integrated into a comprehensive marketing strategy and adapted to evolving needs and preferences of the audience that you are pursuing, that you're speaking to. All right, so we did that. After the 4 Ps, right? I mentioned creating a marketing budget. And you probably stared at the screen on your device that you're listening to me and you're saying, well, how in the world do I create that? I'm not a marketing professional, Natasha. And my answer is okay, but you're here with me learning all of it for free. So take good notes, and then you can rewind me later when you need to, if you need to. Hopefully I explain it pretty good. So when we're creating a marketing budget, you have to understand that it's a crucial step in your overall business planning process, because a well-structured marketing budget will help you allocate resources effectively to meet your marketing goals. And so I want to give you a step-by-step guide on how to create a marketing budget. Like, don't you love me? Don't you? I don't know if I'll love myself by the time I'm done saying all this. Okay, so 1, you're going to set clear marketing goals. And this is where you start by defining specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound marketing goals. For all of my college students, you guys know those are your SMART goals. These could include objectives like increasing brand awareness, driving website traffic, boosting sales, or launching a new product or service. 2, determine your total revenue and expenses. So here you will calculate your expected total revenue for the budgeting period, and this will serve as a reference point for determining how much of your revenue that you can allocate to marketing. And then you'll identify all of your anticipated expenses, including operational cost, overhead, and any non-marketing expenses. So you remember I mentioned earlier, like you have your overhead. We have these separate line items that you have to be mindful of, but you have to also take in consideration your other expenses and the other costs that you have as well. You can't have this overinflated marketing budget, but then you don't have enough to cover any anticipated expenses. Like, that doesn't make sense. You can't cover operational costs and your overhead, but yet you want to have this big banging marketing budget. So that is something to be mindful of at all times. Number 3, allocate a percentage of your revenue. So this is where you can decide on a percentage of the total revenue that you are willing. Underline, highlight, put some stars around it, willing to allocate to your marketing budget. The appropriate percentage can vary, by industry and the size of your company and the objectives that your company has, but typically it'll fall within a range of 5% to 15% of your revenue. You can wiggle that however you want. 4, you're going to identify specific marketing activities. And this is where you'll list all of the marketing activities and campaigns that you plan to undertake to achieve your marketing goals. With this, that can include your content marketing, advertising, social media, email marketing, events, SEO, and the list can go on and on. 5, you would estimate cost for each activity. And this is where you're looking at all of your marketing activities, and you're going to now consider, the factors like advertising spend, design and content creation, the salary for your staff members, and any external agency fees, because you may, like as I said earlier, there are certain things that you may have to outsource to cover. So with that, you have to make sure you're breaking everything down so you can see where your money's flowing, and then you can make changes if and when necessary. 6, you're going to create a budget spreadsheet. So this is where you use something like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets to create a budget template, and then you'd set up columns for each marketing activity, estimated costs, and subtotals. Yes, there are apps and other software out there besides Google Sheets and Microsoft Excel. These are just the 2 that I'm sharing with you. 7, include both your fixed and variable costs. And this is where you're going to have to learn how to distinguish between the 2. Fixed costs are expenses that remain constant. So that's like your subscription fees, your salaries. Variable costs depend on the level of marketing activities such as advertising spend or events expenses. Now, I will say this. Sometimes, now, salaries rarely, fluctuate. But when you're looking at employee, your payroll, you do know that does vary. So you do know that there's things that go into that, especially depending on the industry you are in. So I just want to make sure I stress that. When all of a sudden you're like, but no, ours changed. Yes, you're right. That can be a variable. 8, you're going to categorize your marketing expenses. So organizing into categories like digital marketing, traditional advertising, event marketing, content creation, and then once again, staff salaries. 9, you have to be able to track that historical data. So if it's available, right, after you've already been well established as a company, you can refer to the historical data to better estimate costs. And this is where you would analyze your previous marketing campaigns to gauge their effectiveness and the expenses that were associated with them. So you'll be able to see the ones that did well and the ones that maybe blundered, the ones that just kind of were like, whatever, and see how much you spent for each of those. Number 10, you have to factor in contingencies. So when you're looking at a contingency or, that backup plan, or a buffer amount in your budget to account for unforeseen expenses or changes in your strategy. You need to always be able to plan for the what ifs, the things that came out of nowhere, like what in the world? So you need to make sure you have that factored in. 11, and we talked about that, remember, last week when we were dealing with sales. 11, you have to calculate the total marketing budget. You'll sum up the estimated cost for each marketing activity to calculate your total marketing budget. 12, monitor and adjust regularly. Understanding this is a living, breathing thing. It is not static. Your marketing budget is always going to be changing. So it should be reviewed and adjusted regularly so that you can reflect changes in market conditions, results, objectives, so on and so forth. 13, benchmark and compare. So what you would do here is you would consider industry benchmarks to ensure that your marketing budget is in line with similar businesses in your sector. That's what that means. 14, you're going to review your ROI expectations. So that's your return on investment. And you have to do so for each marketing activity. Where is the expectation for how you're going to get a return on the investment, the money from the budget that you have raised in order to make this happen? This helps you assess the effectiveness of that budget allocation. It helps you fine tune it, and it helps you strengthen that as a skill set as well, so that you know that you're doing really good on your budgets. You're not over significantly, and you're not under so bad that you were pulling from the toilet paper budget in order to cover your ends. 15, allocate funds strategically. Here you'd prioritize marketing activities based on their potential impact on your marketing goals, and you would allocate more funds to high potential strategies. 16, communicate and gain buy-in. With this, I want you to ensure that the key stakeholders in your organization clearly understand and support the marketing budget. They have to. It has to be just everyone gets it. It's not one of those things that they just kind of brush off. No, everyone has to get it, because you're going to have to collaborate with your team to gain the consensus on the allocation of resources. And resources, they're not infinite, they're finite. So with that, you have to make sure you are transparent. Everyone fully understands, and they're all on board. Like, there's no hesitation. There's no one that's crossing their fingers behind their back type of thing. And then last but not least of this list would be 17 would be track and analyze results. What you'll have to do is regularly monitor the performance of your marketing activities, and you would use analytics and KPIs, which are your key performance indicators, to measure the effectiveness of your budget allocation. All right, so now we're still in this money thing. So earlier I mentioned fixed and variable costs. I want to make sure that I do really explore this. I don't want to leave you guys hanging. So I know that many of you might know the purpose of fixed and variable costs, but I never want to assume that to be true. So I'm gonna go a little deeper. All right. As I said earlier, fixed and variable costs are essential components of cost analysis in business, and they serve distinct purposes. So the purpose of your fixed cost, one would be stability. So fixed, kind of suggest, remaining constant, stable within a specific production or operational range. Their purpose is to provide stability in cost management, which would allow your business to predict and plan for essential expenses regardless of the changes, in with sales levels or in production. It just is a constant, it's stable, you can count on it. Overhead expenses is a second purpose of fixed cost. When you are looking at rent, insurance, your salaries of your permanent staff, you're looking at depreciation, you're looking at utilities. These are ongoing, folks. They're non-negotiable expenses that you must incur in order to maintain operations, to keep the doors open, the lights on, folks working and getting the products and services delivered. Number 3 would be cost allocation. And here, fixed cost will help you allocate a portion of your total cost, right? So when you total it all up, you'll be able to allocate a portion of that to each unit of production or service, which is particularly useful when you're calculating the total cost of goods or services. And then a final purpose of fixed costs would be your break-even analysis. And this is crucial, how fixed costs play a crucial role in this, is that they help your business determine the level of sales or production that's needed to cover all fixed costs and start generating a profit. So that's that. Now, let me provide you with the purpose of variable cost. You can have responsiveness to production, and this is where you have to really wrap your mind around the fact that variable costs vary in direct proportion to the changes in your output or your production. So their purpose is to account for expenses that increase as a result of producing more units or providing more services. So that is where you're looking at how do we respond to what's taking place with production. The second purpose of variable cost would be cost control. So when you're looking at items like raw materials, direct labor, sales commissions, these can all be adjusted based on production levels. And this flexibility allows your business to control costs by adjusting production or sales strategies. Another purpose would be contribution margin. So purpose 3 is where you understand that when you're calculating the contribution margin, which represents the amount of money that's available to cover your fixed cost and contribute to profit after variable costs are deducted from revenue, yeah, that's why variable costs are critical in all of that. 4 would be pricing and profitability analysis. And when we're analyzing variable cost, it's essential for setting the product prices and determining your profitability of individual products or services. And you have to understand how changes in production or sales can affect variable costs and help optimize your pricing strategies. And then last but not least would be cost reduction and efficiency. How do I explain this? Businesses can focus on reducing variable costs by using measures like better supply chain management, reducing waste, or increasing production efficiency, which can lead to improved profitability, which is what we want. So you might be wondering how to categorize your marketing expenses, and that's an excellent question. If you ask that question, excellent question. Especially because your accountant, CPA, bookkeeper, whomever will always want to have a general understanding of how you want expenses categorized so that when receipts are flowing in and out and this way and that way, it's easy to track their coming and going through proper and consistent labeling, right? And especially with all these different budgets and you've got so many different moving parts, you need to be able to know. And nothing is worse than when you are getting those accounting reports and there's a huge chunk of money in the uncategorized. And trust me, I have experienced that, and it is not a pleasant feeling because now you have to spend the time figuring out what buckets those line items are to be categorized into, like where are they supposed to go. So you don't want to be in that position. You want to make sure that this laid out and consistent and everyone is on board. So when you're categorizing these expenses, you have to understand how essential they are for, as I've pointed out now, is tracking, but also budgeting and analyzing the effectiveness of your marketing efforts. Because marketing expenses can vary widely. So creating clear categories help you manage and assess the return on investment, right? We talked about the ROI for your different marketing activities. So let's look at how we can do so effectively. So let's say you have an advertising category. And this would include expenses related to all of your ad campaigns. It doesn't matter if they're online, so the digital ads, pay-per-click, it could be offline, which would be your TV ads, print, radio. And it would encompass ad placement and creative design and media buying costs. A second category could be your content marketing. And this involves this is an expense that involves creating and promoting content such as your blog posts, your videos, your infographics, and your social media updates. And those costs can include the content creation, graphic design, and social media management. And understanding that if you're paying, you have to remember all of these things are individually, itemized. So you have to be mindful of that. Number 3, public relations. This expense right here is going to look at all of those activities. That could be the press releases, the media relations, any event sponsorships, as well as crisis management. Because, crap happens. And you've got to be able to manage it, get in front of it, however you want to look at it. So it encompasses the cost for your PR agencies, your press materials, and any and all event coordination. 4, digital marketing. Those expenses will cover various online activities. That could be the SEO that we talked about, right? Remember, search engine optimization, the email marketing, your social media advertising, and remember we talked about influencer marketing. It includes the cost for your software. Yeah, your email platforms. Your social media tools. What? And marketing automation. Like those are 4 buckets that if you have that spend there, you need to be able to track it properly and make sure that they're best utilized. Sometimes we end up spending money. Like I have to go through and be like, okay, where is money going, and why did I pay for that? Why has that been ordered? And do we still need it? And that's exactly what I have to be able to do for my clients as well. Where is the money flowing to? And what's the return on that investment? If money's just going out and there's no return, you got to cut it off unless you can find a way to pivot on that plan in order to get you back on track. But the money that's already just gone out is, basically flushed down the toilet. So you have to be aware of that. Where am I now? I don't know. Number 5. Traditional marketing includes offline activities. And I mentioned this earlier, direct mail, brochures, flyers, trade shows. And these expenses may encompass printing, booth rentals, travel, and promotional materials. 6 would be promotions and discounts. And this category includes your expenses that are related to promotions, discounts, sales campaigns, and understand that it covers the cost of running your sales events, when offering discounts, creating the coupons or the loyalty program. So all of that is factored into that. 7, event marketing. This expense category will include costs for organizing and participating in events, trade shows, conferences, seminars. It can also involve registration fees, booth design, travel, and promotional materials. Like, think of all the elements that go into an event, and all of them have a dollar attached to it. 8, website and online presence. These expenses are related to maintaining and improving your website and online presence, as I've said. That could be the website hosting, domain registration, website development, and any ongoing updates that go into it. 9, market research. Once again, it's an expense. This category, we're covering our surveys, the focus groups, data analysis, customer research. It's going to include the cost for your research tools, the data collection, and the analysis services. What? I got to pay somebody to analyze my data? Yeah, because you have no clue. You just see nothing but numbers and words and lines and dots. 10, marketing technology. This category will encompass your expenses that are related to your marketing software and tools, such as your CRM systems, your analytics platforms, your marketing automation software. 11, affiliate and partner marketing. Those of you that are into that, we're looking at the programs and partnerships and collaborations, and that could be the commissions that you pay out to affiliates, the fees that are paid out through that partnership, and the marketing materials that are for your partners. 12, branding and design. Those costs are directly associated with your branding activities. So that's your logo design, your branding materials, the graphic design services. 13, miscellaneous. You always got to have a miscellaneous category. Because why? This is going to account for expenses that don't fit into any of those categories I just mentioned. You have to keep this category well defined and review it regularly to avoid unnecessary costs. But this is one of those where you're like, I don't know what it is, so we're just going to put in miscellaneous. 14, staff and agency fees. Expenses related to marketing staff salaries, your freelance fees, as well as fees that you pay out to agencies. This is going to include the compensation for your in-house marketing teams, or if you have external marketing agencies, that goes in this category. Training and education, any costs related to training, skill development for your marketing team members, as well as the expenses for attending marketing conferences and workshops. You see how you have a whole separate, everything is separate. The finances are separate for that. You're like, this is what we're focusing on just for our marketing team members. By categorizing these expenses, you gain better visibility into your marketing budget. You get to track expenditures accurately and analyze the performance of different marketing activities. And it helps you make data-driven decisions and allocate your resources more effectively to achieve your marketing objectives. So in summary, fixed cost provide your stability and your predictability in cost management, while variable cost are going to account for expenses that fluctuate with changes in production or sales levels. And by understanding these cost categories and their purposes, your business can make informed decisions about pricing and production levels and overall financial management. All right. Gosh, this should really be 2 episodes. Like, it should be split into 2. Okay. All right. Now, do you recall when several months ago I mentioned industry benchmarks and that you need to consider them for ensuring your marketing budget and that it's in line with similar businesses in your sector? Remember that, right? Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about that further because I already know someone's going to, yeah. So, someone has, someone will. So considering industry benchmarks is so valuable of a practice because it helps you ensure that your company's marketing budget is in line with similar businesses in your sector. Benchmarking helps you gauge whether your marketing spending is competitive and efficient. And I'm going to go over how to use those benchmarks effectively. Right? Because you can use them, but then it's just all over the place. So the first one, number 1, is you have to identify relevant benchmarks. So you're going to look at your KPIs. Remember what those are? Your key performance indicators. You're going to look at them. You're going to look at the benchmarks that are relevant to your industry and your marketing goals. Some common benchmarks could be including the percentage of revenue that's allocated to your marketing. It could be your cost per lead, or it could be your customer acquisition cost. How much it costs for you to get that customer, that client. And it's going to include your return on investment for your marketing efforts. So that's where all of that goes into play. Number 2 would be access benchmark data. And with this, you're going to research and gather all industry-specific benchmark data from reputable sources. So don't just, the first thing that you find in your search engine, you're like, oh, okay, look at this. It has to be from reputable sources. And this might involve industry associations, market research firms, publications, various marketing publications, or even government agencies. You can also look for benchmark reports and studies that are specific to your sector. 3, you need to compare to your peer businesses. So you would compare your budget for your marketing, just the marketing, and performance metrics to businesses of similar size, scope, market position within your industry. And this will help provide a more accurate benchmark comparison. 4 would be to assess your budget allocation. And this is how you would review how similar businesses allocate their marketing budgets across various channels and activities. With this, you would analyze whether your budget allocation aligns with industry norms. So let me give you an example. If most competitors allocate a higher percentage of their revenue to digital advertising, then you'd have to consider whether your allocation should be adjusted accordingly. I hope that makes sense. So that's an example. Number 5, we're going to evaluate cost efficiency. So you would assess your marketing expenses in terms of in those terms, and you would compare metrics like cost per lead or customer acquisition cost to your industry benchmarks. And if your costs are significantly higher, it may indicate that you have inefficiencies that need to be addressed. So that means, okay, there's a deviation and we need to go in and snoop this out and sort things so we can get back in alignment. 6, you would examine your ROI metrics. So that's your return on investment for different marketing channels and campaigns. If your ROI is below industry benchmarks, you would consider realigning your strategies or adjusting your budget allocation to focus on more effective channels. 7, consider growth stages. Goodness, strategies. This is where you would recognize that businesses that are different growth stages, right? They may have varying marketing budget requirements. So startups and established companies might allocate their budgets differently. So with that, you have to consider the life cycle stage of your business when you're evaluating benchmarks. You can't be comparing yourself to a company that's been around like 50 plus years, has humongous budgets. All right, 8, account for industry trends. Keep in mind that industry trends can impact your budget for your marketing, folks. So for instance, if you have a shift towards the digital marketing or the emergence of new marketing technologies, that can influence your budget allocation. 9, you need to regularly review and adjust. This is not a one-time activity. Benchmarking is consistent. You periodically need to review the benchmarks within your industry and compare your performance to adjust your marketing budget and strategies accordingly. Market conditions and customer behavior change all the time. It's like leaves blowing in the wind. So your budget should evolve too, right? 10, you can analyze your competitive advantages. Now, while it's essential to align with industry benchmarks, also consider this. Where are you uniquely, flexing your muscles? Like you just walking that walk. You're shining bright. Everybody's looking at you. If your company has a niche market, you have innovative offerings or a distinct positioning, you may need to allocate resources differently to leverage these advantages. 11, consult with industry experts. You need to engage with industry experts. You need to engage with consultants like me and Foreman and Associates or professional organizations to gain insights into the latest industry benchmarks and best practices. 12, use benchmarks as a guide. So, as I've said, they're valuable reference points, but they shouldn't be the sole determinant of your marketing budget. I've got to stress that. They should not be. You need to always consider your specific business objectives, your target audience, and your competitive landscape when you're making budget decisions. I've said this repeatedly today. I've said it when we did our sales last week. Anytime we're dealing with budget, we're dealing with money. It's not just one thing. There's multiple factors that go into play. So by regularly assessing this budget in relation to your industry benchmarks, you can make some informed decisions, you can optimize your marketing strategies, and ensure that your company remains competitive within your sector. Now, something else that I'm sure someone would ask if how their company can review ROI expectations, because I know I mentioned earlier, and that was step 14 in the marketing budget. So I'm more than willing to explain. I'm going to explain this because I want to make sure that you have it. So when you're reviewing the ROI expectations, you have to ensure that your marketing and business strategies are on track and are delivering your desired outcomes. So some steps that you can use to review those expectations are, first, you'd have to define the clear objectives, and you would do that by first revisiting your marketing and your business objectives, and you would ensure that they are SMART, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, and that you have clear objectives that provide a basis for your ROI evaluation. 2, you would have to set realistic benchmarks. Based on those objectives, you'd establish those KPIs that would measure your success, and then those benchmarks should be realistic and achievable within the given time frame. 3, you would track data and metrics. That's a continuous monitoring and collecting of data on those metrics, and you may include your website traffic, conversion rate, sales, customer acquisition costs, customer lifetime value, and other performance indicators that are specific to your goals, not your competitors' goals, not no one else's. Okay. 4, use analytics tools. So we have Google Analytics, marketing automation platforms. You have CRM systems that can track and analyze the data, and these tools can help you gain insights into your customers' behavior, and into campaign performance, and once again, ROI. 5, you need to compare actual results, not something that you just poof and dreamt of. Regularly compare your actual results, what you actually did, to the expected benchmarks and objectives. So compare to where you want it to be and see where you landed, and look for disparities and deviations between what was expected and what actually happened. See if you can find out what caused the disparity. 6, and when you find out, act on it, right? Fix it. You find the puncture in the tire. You then have to decide if it could be repaired or if you need a new tire. Make sense? All right. 6, segment data. This is where you're going to analyze data by segmenting it based on various factors such as demographics and geography or product lines. And this can provide insights into which areas are driving the most ROI. You can then be able to see where that return is coming from and where the most or least. 7, A/B testing. You're going to conduct this testing and split tests for marketing campaigns, and it allows you to experiment with different strategies and identify which ones are going to yield the best results and which ones you just got to let go. 8, customer feedback and surveys. Yeah, you need this information to understand your customers' perceptions and their experiences with your products or services. And this qualitative data, qualitative, not quantitative. We're not doing numbers, folks. You are getting those words in there. That qualitative data can complement your quantitative metrics. So when you're turning around and you're asking them these questions where they're having to explain their experience, what they like, all right, what's not right, it's not just clicking the box saying it doesn't fit. Like, can you elaborate? Let us know so we can see how we can improve. This is how you improve. This is how you get things flowing so that you can then be able to possibly recapture that person or just recapture another group of people that thought similarly or have some of the same wants or needs. Number 9, cost analysis. This is going to analyze the cost that is associated with your advertising and marketing campaigns. And you're going to determine the cost of customer acquisition for different channels and then assess how it compares to your expected ROI. We talked about that earlier. Attribution models. You're going to use this to understand your customer's journey, right? How they got to you, and identify which touch points contribute most to conversions. How they got to you, how you closed them, hook, line, and sinker. You got you. You ain't going anywhere. And then the return on the investment. How much did it cost you to go through that, to get them to you, to get them to fall in love with you, right? To get them to buy from you. How much did that factor in? 11, competitive analysis. You're going to research and compare your performance to that of your competitors in your industry, and benchmarking can help you gauge your competitiveness and ROI relative to others in the market. We talked about that earlier. 12, leverage marketing mix models. Your marketing mix modeling will help you assess the impact of various marketing channels and activities on your ROI, and it provides insights into the effectiveness of different marketing strategies. 13, you guys need to be able to adjust your strategies as needed. Please don't keep them fixed. Based on your analysis, you have to be prepared to make adjustments to your budgets, to your marketing strategies. You have to be able to allocate those resources to the channels and tactics that are delivering the highest ROI. Don't keep investing where it's not working. 14, regular review and adaptation. So remember that your ROI expectations should be reviewed regularly. That does not mean every 5 years. Regularly. Market conditions change. Consumer behavior evolves. Remember, I've said this now like twice today. And new marketing technologies emerge constantly. Can we keep up with them? No. So periodic assessments allow for adaptation to new opportunities and challenges. 15, once again, I'm going to keep repeating this. You got to seek advice from people that know what they know, right? So you can call them experts, marketing professionals, data analysts. You need to make sure that you're ensuring that you are interpreting your data accurately and you're making informed decisions. You don't want to just be following lines and dots and not knowing what stuff means. 16, test new approaches. You have to be open to testing new channels, new tactics, new approaches, new ways to improve your ROI. Experimentation can lead to valuable insights and optimization. Now, trust and believe. You don't want to be like exhausting yourself and all you're doing is just testing. You're like, and then after a while you don't know what works. But being very, focused on those things. So by following these steps and being diligent in monitoring and analyzing ROI data, your company can assess the marketing efforts and make informed decisions to improve performance and, of course, meet those financial objectives. Okay, hopefully I explained that well enough. I hope I did. Let's see. And I hope that you also can see that creating your marketing budget is a dynamic process. It requires some careful planning and tracking and adjustment. And it's definitely an integral part of your overall business strategy. So it should be flexible enough to adapt to those market conditions and, your changing business needs. Now, I want to look at the last 4 components of our sales and marketing plan. We have customer acquisition and retention, metrics and KPIs, and risk and contingencies, and long-term growth and expansion. Ooh-wee. Yeah, we really should have divided this up into 2 episodes. I've said that 3 times now. All right, so let's knock this out. Customer acquisition and retention. This is where you're going to detail how you plan to acquire new customers, whether that's through advertising, partnerships, or other methods. And this is where you'll explain how you intend to retain and build those relationships with existing customers through your loyalty programs, your excellent customer service, and any other strategies. 4, your metrics and your KPIs. I've talked about your KPIs already. You're going to define the metrics that you use to measure your success of your sales and marketing efforts, such as your conversion rate, your customer acquisition costs, your ROI, the website traffic, social media engagement. Using these analytics and KPIs is essential to measure the effectiveness of your budget allocation, and it allows you to track the impact of your spending and make informed decisions so that you can optimize your resources. So let's talk about how you go about doing that. To define those clear objectives and KPIs, you start by setting those objectives for the marketing and business activities, or marketing or business activities, I should say. And these objectives, of course, they have to be SMART. You already know it. You should know by now. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Each objective has to be or should be associated with one or more of your KPIs. So I'm going to give you an example. If your objective is to increase online sales, then a KPI could be the conversion rate of your e-commerce website. I hope that helps. All right, number 2, collect relevant data. You're going to ensure that you have mechanisms in place to collect that data that is related to the objectives and the KPIs. This can be using your analytics tools, customer surveys, or other data sources. An example, this would be web analytics tools like Google Analytics, and that will help track website traffic, conversion rates, and user behavior. 3, you would set benchmarks and baselines. So you would establish those for your KPIs, and those benchmarks then serve as the reference points for comparison. An example of that might be a benchmark that's based on the historical average conversion rate on your website before you implemented a marketing plan, so a campaign, so that you can see the difference between when you didn't have it and then after. 4, you would track your KPIs continuously and consistently so that your budget allocation strategies are implemented, and you're monitoring that. So real-time or regular tracking will allow you to identify trends, anomalies, and fluctuations. 5, segment data. You're going to segment your data to gain more insights. So that's where you could analyze your KPIs by different customer segments or geographic regions or product categories. And this can help you identify which segments are most effective by your budget allocation. 6, you would use the attribution models to understand the customer journey. And this is where you determine which touch points and channels contribute most to conversions and ROI. And this helps you allocate budget resources more effectively to high impact channels. 7, analyze cost efficiency. Here you're going to calculate your KPIs like the customer acquisition costs, CAC, to understand how efficiently you are acquiring customers. Then you would compare these costs to industry benchmarks, or if you've been in business a while, your historical data. 8, customer lifetime value, your CLV. This is where you're going to assess the long-term value of customers that have been acquired through your budget allocation. You calculate CLV to determine the revenue generated from a customer over their lifetimes. So not the lifetime like human lifetime, meaning the lifetime that they've been your customer, the amount of time they've been your customer, if it's been 10 years or 10 months or 20 years or 50 years. This perspective can help justify your budget allocation choices. All right, 9, A/B testing. We talked about A/B testing earlier. You're literally going to be doing these tests and split tests to experiment with the different budget allocation strategies, right? We talked about that. Your ROI calculation, same thing, right? We're going to calculate the ROI. That metric helps compare the gain or loss from your investment relative to the cost. 11, regular reporting and review. Once again, reiterating this and how it's applied. It could be done weekly, monthly, quarterly, depending on your business cycle. 12, you're going to adapt and optimize. Based on the analysis of your KPIs, you can make data-driven decisions to be able to optimize that budget allocation, shift resources to areas that are delivering the best results, and then you can consider how you can scale back on your less effective strategies. 13, just want to reiterate, seek your expert insights. Making sure that you're talking to those data analysts, any experts in your industry, any marketing professionals to gain insights and interpretations on your data. That advice can help identify the blind spots and opportunities that you may not be paying attention to. And using these analytics and KPIs to measure the effectiveness of your budget allocation is an ongoing process. Regular assessment and optimization are key to ensuring that your budget allocation aligns with those objectives and delivers the positive ROI that you're seeking. 5, risk and contingencies we've talked about in different contexts. Want to make sure that you're acknowledging the potential risks that are related to your sales and marketing, such as market saturation, changing customer preferences, or competitive challenges. You have to be able to describe the contingency plans to mitigate these risks. 6, long-term growth and expansion. Here's where you'll discuss your long-term strategies for sales and marketing and how you want to go about expanding into new markets and launching additional products or services or scaling your current operations. With these strategies, you have to really wrap your mind around how essential they are for that expansion and launching those products and services or scaling those operations, and how they're designed to drive that sustained growth over an extended period of time. So I want to share some examples for each of those scenarios. So for expanding into new markets, we have our market research and analysis. We're going to analyze the trends, customer behavior, regulatory factors, right? Market segmentation. We can then tailor our marketing efforts to a specific segment effectively. We can divide that new market into those segments based off of characteristics like income or behavior or age. 3, our local partnerships and alliances. We have the businesses, the influencers, and organizations in the new market that you want to establish trust and credibility. 4, your localized marketing content, where you can adapt your marketing materials, your website content, any advertising to cater to cultural and language preferences in a new market. 5, customer education. This is where you would invest in educating and onboarding your customers to familiarize the new market with your products or services. 6, customer support and local presence, where you can offer local customer support, and possibly establish a physical presence, such as retail locations or regional offices. 7, long-term SEO and SEM. So we're going to implement a long-term search engine optimization and search engine marketing strategy to improve the visibility in local search results, so that locally, if you're talking about in, Boise, when someone that's in Boise is searching and you're then populated in that area, they're like, whoa, they're right here. That's a way that you can do that if you're in Boise, Idaho. Shout out to anyone in Boise. 8, relationship building. Focus on relationship building, community engagement. This helps to create brand loyalty and advocacy. Now, when we're looking at launching additional products or services, some things that you need to look at is happen to be, one would be product service development roadmap. And this is where you would create a roadmap for developing and launching new products or services. And here you would consider the timeline and the sequence of releases. 2 would be cross-selling and upselling. That's where you'd promote new offerings to existing customers through cross-selling and upselling strategies, as your existing customer base is, of course, a valuable resource. 3, market segmentation. Here you'd analyze your customer base and segment it based on the preferences and needs of your customers, and you would tailor your marketing messages for each segment. 4, product launch campaigns. You would develop comprehensive marketing campaigns to create excitement and anticipation for this new product or service that you're launching. 5, loyalty programs. We talked about this before. Is how you go about rewarding your repeat customers and you incentivize them to try your new offerings. 6, content marketing. This is where you create content that educates your customers about the value and benefits of the products and services that you're delivering. 7, feedback and iteration. This is where you gather feedback from early adopters and use it to iterate and improve the new offerings. Now, when we're looking at how we scale current operations, some things that you could do is, 1, data-driven decision making. And this is where you emphasize the data analytics to inform your scaling strategy. You're identifying trends and peak periods and underutilized resources. Second would be process optimization. Here you'd continuously refine and optimize internal processes to improve efficiency and quality. 3, customer retention. This is where you're going to focus on customer strategies like for existing customers that are more cost effective to retain than acquiring new ones. So how can we keep you? We'd like to have new ones, but we really want to keep you, and how can we do so in a cost effective way versus having to have the added spend of trying to acquire new ones. 4, your geographic expansion. You'd consider expanding if the current market is saturated or growth is slowing. That's really 2 of the drivers for that. 5, supply chain and distribution. Here you'd evaluate those channels for opportunities to increase efficiency and expand reach. 6, employee training and development. This is where you would invest in those areas to ensure your team can handle the increased workload effectively. 7 would be the marketing automation, and you'd use the various tools to streamline your marketing efforts and maintain consistency. 8, and I'm great, and I'm done, is customer feedback loop. And you create this loop with customers to identify the areas of improvement and to stay aligned with their changing needs. So each of these long-term strategies that I've shared require careful planning and consistent execution. They should be aligned with your company's overall business objectives and regularly reviewed and adjusted as needed to adapt to the changing market conditions and, of course, your customer preferences. Don't be a stick in the mud. You'll lose your customer base. Okay. Oh, my goodness. All right, folks. With all that I've shared here today and last week, hopefully, you can see and feel deep down in your bones the ways in which the sales and marketing sections of a business plan are critical for demonstrating how a company intends to attract and retain customers while achieving revenue goals. They should be well researched, focused on the needs of your target market, and aligned with the overall business objectives. Additionally, you have to really understand that they provide valuable insights for potential investors and stakeholders when they want to evaluate your growth potential and your competitive positioning. Okay, man, I'm worn out. All right, folks. It's that time. It is so that time. It is really that time for us to wrap up and go our separate ways until we see each other next. If you enjoy what you heard today, please rate and review the podcast so that others can find us. We want to make sure that we give proper credit for our show's theme songs. They are by the talented Shane Ivers. Oh my goodness. Thank you again for tuning in to the Don't Call It Small Business podcast, for sharing these episodes with others, and for your continued support. And don't forget what I tell you on each and every episode. Don't call what you're planning, thinking, dreaming, or doing little or small. Go big, go bold, or go nowhere. I'll see you guys here next week. You guys have a lot of homework. I don't even need to tell you. You know what your homework is, right? Start knocking out these layers, folks. Start knocking out these layers. You got a lot of work to do. See you guys next week, episode 95, part 8. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, there's 4 things that we ask of you. First, please leave a rating and review. Second, be sure to connect with us on social media. Third, head over to foremanllc.com/podcast to sign up to our email list. And fourth, check out all the links and resources in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in to the Don't Call It Small Business podcast, for sharing these episodes with others, and for your continued support. And don't forget what we tell you on every episode. Don't call what you're planning, thinking, dreaming, or doing, little or small. Go big, go bold, or go nowhere. We can't wait to reconnect with you soon. See you next time.